Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we're going to take a look at the brand new patch notes. And boys, this is a big one. So we got a lot of stuff to go over. You guys might want to grab a snack for this one because we got not only one article for this update, but two that we got to go over. There are a lot of changes coming. Good, bad, I'll let you guys decide. Let's go. The March update, seeing green. The maintenance times will be Xbox, I guess it'll be March 6th, 2 to 5 a.m. Central Time, 7 to 10 a.m. UTC for both Xbox and PlayStation. Update size for the Xbox One S and X is 2,500 megabytes. Xbox Series S and X is 24 megabytes, or 2,400 megabytes. PS4 is 2,420 megabytes. PS5, 928 megabytes. iOS 1200, Android 1200. March update, seeing green. A huge spring update is closing in. Let's take a look at everything we've prepared. For those of you who aren't up for reading all the details, the TLDR is ready too. Racing Legends return. St. Patrick's Day celebrations are in order. French Tier 8 cruiser Carnot headlines the campaign. Pan-Asian cruisers become researchable. Tier 8 ships debut in ranked battles, legendary Tier Schlieffen as a bureau project, and quite a few balance changes, and much, much more. Seeing green. To claim your update bonus, this time it's the special spring potato patch and 3 times revolutionary camos. Redeem the code Q43FL5 8C4S at wowslegends.com/code-redeemer. Lazer's Heritage campaign. The French Tier 8 cruiser Carnot, a well-protected, hard-hitting, and speedy cruiser, is the star of our newest campaign. You can expect the usual framework, 100 milestones over 5 weeks. Heroic effort missions and catch-up mechanic in place, and a battle prowess mission for Admiralty backing owners to earn more renown. Here's a detailed look at what the campaign prizes with or without Admiralty backing. Without Admiralty backing, you can get all of this for a total of 730 doubloons worth of things. With Admiralty backing, you get all of that, plus you get all of this, for a total value of 74,400 doubloons, including the premium Tier 8 cruiser Carnot. The return of Racing Legends. Racing comes to Legends for the second time, and it's better than ever. With 3-week-long seasons with playoffs and leaderboards, there's plenty of time to enjoy the high-octane race to first place. Special racing boats, commanders, consumables, and even torpedoes will make your enemies limp to the finish. Participating and winning will net you Racing Legends tokens, which can be spent in the store on a variety of content, including the new ship, Destroyer Bulletproof, 3 Commander Guises, and special crates. The races are on from March 20th. Expect a dedicated blog post with all details closer to the start. St. Patrick's Day 2023. The first spring update also includes a themed range for St. Patrick's Day. It features a new ship, the Tier 7 Celtic, the Cara McMurdoff Commander Guys, and the return of Pot of Gold crates. Brady McMurdoff will also get a unique voiceover. Wait. Is there already a commander in the game called Brady McMurdoff? Or did they just goof this? I don't know. More details will be revealed in a dedicated post before the content drops on March 13th. The Tier 8 pack. The Tier 8 ships attack. 5 more tech tree lines are getting new branch toppers. These will become researchable starting March 6th. With the list including the following boats: And the very first one, and two, gets my attention big time. First of all, American Battleship Minnesota. For those of you who don't know, this means Vermont is coming. Mark my words, Vermont is coming. I've talked about it for a while. I've wanted Vermont for a while, ever since I got my hands on it on PC. I can't wait. But this is our first step, American Battleship Minnesota. If you guys aren't aware, the Kansas line on PC, the very next ship in line for after Kansas is Minnesota. So I'm expecting big things out of Minnesota and also big things out of Vermont when it gets here. It's not here yet. American Cruiser Seattle. If you guys don't know, this I believe is the light cruiser line. So this goes after Cleveland, obviously. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that does. But Japanese destroyer Kitakaze. Now this is basically the upgrade for Akazuki. So I believe it has one sextuple launcher, so six torpedoes in a single launcher. Probably going to have a torpedo reload booster in there. And then the guns are going to be fantastic, just like Akazuki, though hopefully they're bigger than 100 millimeters. British cruiser Drake. Pan-Asian destroyer Chungmu. I don't know anything about either of those other than the fact that British cruiser Drake is probably a heavy cruiser to top off the heavy cruiser line. And then Chungmu, I literally couldn't tell you. So at least Pan-Asians getting their tier 8. Okay? As usual, we'll take a closer look at these high-tier monsters in the coming days. Keep your eyes on our socials in the meantime. I apologize, guys. Every time I do these patch notes, I either stay up all night to try to do them as soon as they drop, or I wake up early to try to get them, and I'm just miserable. So I do apologize. Pan-Asian cruisers go researchable. The Tier 8 Sejong paves the way for the Pan-Asian Tech Tree cruisers. They are now available to research. Go give them a try for their mix of deep water torpedoes and smoke generator, reinforced by torpedo reload booster at the higher tiers. Ranked battles hits a new milestone. 2 ranked battle seasons with higher tier ships await you. More details will be revealed in a special blog post before the start of Season 39 on March 9th, but we can tell you that Season 40 will be the first time the mode sees Tier 8 ships prepare in advance. Debut of Pan America. So the Atlantico is coming to Legends. We've rumored this for a little bit. It's been seen in testing in the normal live server. So the first Pan American ship, Atlantico, arrives as a Tier 7 premium battleship with powerful, accurate, and long-range secondaries, plus AP-only main battery guns. This mighty monster is available in the stores starting March 6th. Universal Pan American Commander Pedro Lima Santos will be added to your account automatically upon purchasing the ship. A Pan American Battleship Commander will arrive in a future update. Now this makes me wonder. I think this is a primarily secondary focused battleship, if I remember correctly. I don't know much about it, I'll be real honest, I don't. But I'm fairly confident this is a secondary focused battleship. And so with that in mind, I would probably assume that the commander you're about to get for free is probably going to be a brawler type commander. But we'll see. Only time will tell. We'll see on Monday Monday. Tuesday. I always forget. Schlieffen Bureau Project. The longest reaching secondaries in Legends. And torpedoes aboard. That's Schlieffen. The project that will deliver you this brand new German legendary battleship is available for credits or doubloons in the store. See, I'm not a big fan of this. Like, I understand, but what happened to the Bureau projects that just came in and you just research Bureau projects? Why is it that they're starting to move more and more Bureau projects behind paywalls? Whether it's in-game currency that you can grind or not. With the influx of the Tier 8s, I don't think we need another way to, waste money. And I'm not saying this would be a waste. This would be a great pickup. Schlieffen is extremely powerful. You guys know the Ruprecht has been absolutely dominating its tier. We talked about how nasty it can be if you keep it together. And Schlieffen is going to be even more so. even though it's up against legendaries all the time. Think about it. Ruprecht has been dominating at tier 8 against legendaries. This is a legendary tier version. Okay, it's nasty. It's no joke. So I look forward to getting my hands on this thing for sure. And wait till you see the balance changes that are coming. Speaking of balance changes, the update sees a revamp of French commanders and buffs and nerfs to a handful of ships. Read our Ministry of Balance report article. So we will be doing that for sure. Bug fixes. Pobeta's aircraft rating was changed from 13 to 39. The calculation was previously didn't include skip bombers. Rare cases where the ships of disconnected players continue to shoot at infinitum. Ray trace lighting sometimes caused... I am so sorry, guys. Caused collars to destroy, or to distort, especially in brighter ports like Nagasaki. Win rate badge and service record showed up erroneously, meaning in error, even before a player had fought 200 battles. Britannia was missing a piece of armor in the armor viewer. Report abuse screen, sometimes stuck after a report had been sent. Several battleship turrets checked for holes that allowed for their incapacitation by lower caliber destroyer shells. This should no longer be the case. I'll be interested to see how this affects some certain ships. I also will be interested to see if this is maybe the reason that GK has been getting citadeled through its freaking turrets. We'll see. Friending and blocking action sometimes didn't work after having rejoined a game following a disconnect. On-deck equipment of sunken ships remained above the surface in rare occasions. Grafspe in the Azure Lane skin lacked a few armor components in the armor viewer. And the rest are all mobile. Removed the dark overlay on the right side of the screen in the premium ship upgrade menu. Anchor, the favorite sign, was sometimes displayed over a ship's name. And back button was sometimes drawn twice in the control preset menu. Other. Added new SAP shell ship trait for Italian boats. Now, this doesn't mean that these guys are getting any changes. All it simply means is during the description panel, they're changing one of the traits to having SAP instead. Because all of these ships just got SAP in the last update. So, keep that in mind. Map changes. Weather on the New Dawn, Ring, and Trap maps was changed for better visibility during the battle. Tears of the Desert, Shatter, and Land of Fire now include new scenarios. Please, God, get rid of freaking Epicenter on Tears of the Desert. That is, like, the worst. Like, Tears of the Desert is not a great map to begin with. Okay, it just isn't. Especially for high tiers. And then to put it as a Epicenter map at high tiers. Only at high tiers. And that's the only way you could ever play Epicenter is obnoxious. It just is. Alright, National Plus voiceover. Finally, the National Plus voiceover mod is in the game. This means that you can now hear multiple unique commanders on your team speaking in their authentic voices simultaneously. From various collaboration commanders to national commander voiceovers, if you prefer this kind of polyphony, I know, right? Polyphony? We'll go with that. We'll go with polyphony. That sounds a little better. Go to your sound settings and choose the National Plus mode. Please note, National Plus voiceover is not available on mobile. Winter shards converted to credits. 1 shard equals 1,500 credits. Various UI improvements. And this includes bureau labels and recommended advanced and special. And spend the spring with legends. Race, celebrate, and turn the tide. A lot of patch notes, okay? So that's huge. There's a lot of stuff coming in this. There's a lot of content coming in this update as well. Still no word on training rooms or anything like that, but some new lines, lots of new tier 8s, so going to be plenty to keep us busy. Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, the Hall of Balance. There we go. You see what I get? Meanwhile, back at the Ministry of Balance. Reports. Okay, anyway. Here we go. Welcome to the Ministry of Balance. For the March 23 update of World of Warships Legends, we have a bunch of changes coming this time, including updates to some commander skills. Spoiler alert, Go All Out got slashed. Good. We're also making the first pass on Tier 8 ships, bringing up some of the lesser performing ships like Maine and Ibuki, and toning down the impact of the top performers, aka Ruprecht. Guaranteed. Here we go. Buffs. Tier 8 Maine. Maine has been fairly underwhelming for many players, and she hasn't been performing well overall. We've decided to significantly improve her survivability by increasing the hit points of her hull while reducing the amount of hit points in her individual components. This will make her a tougher target by enabling her to absorb more fire while taking less damage. However, some of her modules may be easier to disable now. Hit points for stock hull increased from 70,000 to 72,000. Bow hit points reduced from 12,500 to 3,800. Casemate from 33,000 to 90. These are massive changes. These aren't small changes. These are massive changes. They really were like, nah, we're gonna just go through and just try to make Maine actually usable. I'll be honest. Out of all the tier 8s, like, Maine is one of those that just did not stick well with me. Like, I love Montana, I love Iowa, I love Kansas. You guys know this. Maine, while it does have the ability to slap, just did not have, like, the survivability that I was looking for. I thought, being that it would be on, like, sort of a Montana hull, that it would be a little bit more survivable, but no, it just wasn't. But Citadel HP reduced from 72,200 to 54. Magazine, this is kind of worrying. So the magazine hit points is reduced. Does that mean it's more likely to get detonated? That's a little scary. I'll have to get clarification on that from Wargaming at some point. Or I'll take it into battle and see what happens. We're not going to read through all of the changes like this. This is crazy. But you guys can see what it is. HP for the upgraded hull increased from 77 to 80,000. The rest of the changes you guys can read on your own. You can pause, read them really quickly. Having reduced hit points in particular section of the ship, like bow, means that that area will saturate faster, which will result in your overall hit points taking less damage. Now, here's the thing. I see, like, things like this. For the stock hull, the superstructure hit points only had 10,000 to 3,000. Okay? They reduced it by 7,000 hit points. That's a significant decrease. But at the same time, I find it hard to believe that it's only 10,000. Because every freaking time that you shoot at any sort of superstructure with anything that has decent accuracy, you're going to hit that thing for, anywhere from 10 to 20,000 damage. So the fact that it only has 10,000 damage is, well, now it's going to have a lot less, but is a little bit, I don't know. I don't see how that works. Unless we're getting pins through the deck as well when we aim for superstructure, which I guess could account for some of it. But I don't know. Maybe those of you who take deeper dives into the games, like how it works, will know more. But personally, I just find it difficult to believe that any American battleship, especially high tier, only has 10,000 hit points allocated to the superstructure. Okay. Having reduced, we already talked about that. All right, Tier 8 Ibuki and Ibuki B. Maximum HE shell damage increased from 3,300 to 3,650, and maximum AP shell damage increased from 4,700 to 5,150. The main battery reload time for Ibuki B was also decreased from 13.7 to 13 seconds to match the standard Ibuki. Legendary Tier Colbert is actually getting a buff. I don't know why they thought this is a good idea. I understand that it's underperforming, but it's underperforming because it gets one-shotted. Okay, the buffs that they're about to make to it doesn't make any sense. But you'll see what I mean. Colbert is a tremendous ship in the right hands, but she has poor battle impact and poor win rate, while her damage output is also lacking in all but the most experienced players' hands. So here's the thing. The reason it has poor win rate and poor battle damage or battle impact is simple. She gets one-shotted every time something looks at her. Like, every time an inexperienced player gets caught in this thing, it gets one-shotted. It's kind of like Mino. Except here's the difference. The reason this has such a poor battle impact is because it spends most of its time 18 kilometers away firing shells that'll take 30 seconds to get to a target and that even a battleship can manage to dodge. Now, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, Balance Department, but reducing the main battery reload time on a ship that already has a stupid main battery reload time is kind of pointless. But she does get a better heal, so there's that. So at least that will help a little bit. But honestly, given the fact that what I just said, I don't even think this heal's going to help it. I think more often than not, this thing gets removed in a single shot. And here's the thing. It's got a 32 millimeter bow, right? Everybody always says, well, it's got a 32 millimeter bow. It's got all the survivability it could ever ask for. But it's got this gigantic raised deck. Okay, this isn't part of the superstructure. So what this happens is even bow in. An experienced battleship commander shoots at the superstructure, for instance, and you just dev strike them. Straight through the front. Like, they can't angle. They can't bow in. They can't do anything. They literally have to be agile and dodge. That is their only hope of surviving. If they get caught broadside, it's GG wrap no matter who shoots them. If they're broadside, they die. If they go bow in, they get absolutely murdered from the front. Murdered. It's not even a question. But then we're not even talking about the butthole that's in the back. Like, if you guys have ever looked at the Colbert in the armor viewer, if you look, there's like a little window of like no armor right down the main street. That's why I call it the butthole. It is literally right center of the ship at the back of the ship. So if this thing tries to kite away and gets caught in the booty, it's straight through into the Citadel. Like, there's no upside to the way the ship is built. And I'm not saying that they need to buff that. I'm just saying that this change here, I don't see making a significant impact in the overall performance of the ship. But what I'm saying is, if they want this thing to have a better battle impact, and if they want this thing to be a little bit closer and a little bit easier for poor win rate players to use, maybe do something with that raised deck. That is an issue. That way this thing can stay bow in and use its guns more effectively rather than staying at 20 kilometers away and praying to God that they can manage to hit a battleship who's trying to avoid his shells because it takes 30 seconds for those shells to get across the map. Okay? Now that being said, this thing is disgusting in the right hands. But there's very few right hands out there. Most of the people that get in this thing just get dev struck. It's just like Mino. Mino can be absolutely disgusting in the right hands. But Mino does not have a 32 millimeter bow. Colbert does. But again, it's useless because nobody shoots the bow. Everybody knows that if you shoot up here, dev strike. You shoot here, I mean, worst case scenario, you shoot up here, you do half the health of the damage. And then you kill him in the next shot. Like that's worst case scenario as a battleship commander. And it's not superstructure. That's the best part. Like, the superstructure probably doesn't have a lot of hit points, but you're not shooting the superstructure. You're shooting this raised deck. You can see it right here. Like, this goofy raised deck is what's getting it. Because all your shells get just blapped right through there. Because it's all flat. It's all flat. I don't know how thick they would have to make that in order to make a difference, but it's all flat. So as soon as you hit that, it's just penetrations for days. All of it. And a lot of times it ends up in a citadel because your shells are dropping down at an angle. So you're going through that and plap right through. It's not good. But anyway, we're going to move on. I just wanted to point that out. These changes for this particular ship don't make any sense. Increasing the reload time or decreasing the reload time is not going to help this because it already had a stupid reload. I think with a reload build, you were getting like 1.8. Now you're going to be able to get down to like 1.4, 1.5, somewhere in there. So I don't see that this is going to have a huge change to the overall effectiveness of the ship. This one might, just because it's getting a better heal, but that assumes that you survive long enough to use the heal. Improved German secondary guns. As promised, we're fixing the German secondary guns that had legacy HE penetration mechanic. After this, all German medium and large caliber secondary guns will have the correct HE pin values. The most impacted ships are the German battleships and battlecruisers from Tier 6 and up. The 5.9-inch guns, the 150s, HE penetration from 37 to 38 millimeters. The 5-inch guns, the 128s, are going from HE penetration of 31 to 32 millimeters. That's kind of a significant change because that means your 5-inch guns, the ones that fire the most, are actually going to be able to pen battleship armor. At least deck armor and, upper side plating and bow plating. So that's a significant change right there, especially. The 5.9-inch guns were already pretty nasty. Nerfs. Nerfs are a sour pill in many ways, but let us assure you that in every case in this update, the impacted ships have been overshadowing their peers in several ways, especially in the case of the Prinz Ruprecht and August von Parzival. So Parzival is also getting a nerf. It's been a while, but, it's expected when you're just, like, even me, somebody who is absolutely terrible in a carrier. Even I can put up 100K plus games in the carrier, or in the Parzival. So, it's just, it needs to be addressed. And, I mean, Saipan and Midway probably need to be addressed as well. Pobeda. Pobeda's a high skill ceiling ship. Like, once you learn how to use the Pobeda, that thing can be absolutely devastating. But in the wrong hands, like, it does nothing. It's literally not even scary in the wrong hands. But Prince of Tier 8 is getting brought down a notch, but not too badly, as we know many of you love the ship. Main battery reload increased from 30 to 32 seconds. Secondary battery reload increased for the 4.1-inch guns, the 105s, 3.4 to 3.5 seconds, so not a big change. And then the 5.9, so the 150s, going from 7.5 to 8 seconds. Now, these are the stock values. You're still going to have... These will be much lower than this if you build into the secondary still. So this is just the base value, so keep that in mind. Prince Heinrich. This ship is leading the tech tree ships at Tier 6, standing head and shoulders above all the others. We're reducing her damage output to compensate. Her main battery increased from 30 to 33 seconds. Alright, Delny. Delny is... I honestly don't even see Delnys. Like, it just, I can't tell you the last time I ran into a Delny. I'll be real. I just don't. You see the Kaba, you see the Sumner, you see Elbing, Hayate. I never run into a Delny. I couldn't tell you. And that probably speaks to why it's getting nerfed. Because the people that are playing this ship are probably very, very good Russian destroyer players. The average player base just aren't playing them. Because I don't run into them hardly ever. I couldn't tell you last time I ran into a Delny. So, that's why I'm saying, like, sometimes these nerfs, I feel like, are nerfed because of good players. Ships like the Delny here, Amagi back in the day, Nagato, they were very, very good, but very few people played them. And so the people that did play them were very, very good, and so they swayed the numbers in Wargaming's eyes too much, and that gets them nerfed. Whereas ships like the Iowa survived for a lot longer without getting a nerf, because the player base played it more often, meaning that the stats were more balanced out. Because not only did you have really great players playing it, you also had a bunch of doofs that just sail around broadside and get dev struck every time they turn around. So that balances the stats, okay? So if you got one guy putting up 300,000 damage, and you got another guy over here putting up 0 damage, it balances out to 150,000 damage. Which still would be pretty high. But you see what I'm saying. There were a lot more people putting up 0 to 20,000 damage in American Battleship Iowa versus the people that were putting up 200,000 plus. So it averaged out to being mid-tier to below tier. But those people that actually did know what they were doing could absolutely slaughter back in the day, and still can. Like, Iowa's still very, very nasty. But either way, maximum torpedo damage reload reduced from... maximum torpedo damage reduced from 15,100 to 14,400. Torpedo launcher reload time increased from 129 to 140 seconds. Torpedo speed reduced from 65 to 60 knots, and torpedo detectability increased from 1.2 to reduced from 1.2 to 1.1. So pretty sneaky torps, as you'd expect. The Russian torps are pretty sneaky in this game. August von Parzival. Parzival is receiving nerfs after reigning over Tier 7 carriers for a long time. These changes will reduce her damage output and longevity in battle. Maximum bomb damage reduced from 6,200 to 6,100 for her stock haul. Maximum bomb damage reduced from 7,000 to 6,800 for her upgraded haul. So not big changes, but it should be a little bit noticeable. Maximum torpedo damage reduced from 5,600 to 5,133. That's a big change. And then hangar size for both AP and torpedo bombers reduced from 15 to 14. So she's going to have less planes overall. Those planes are going to do less damage, barely. But the biggest change, I think, comes in terms of her torpedoes. She does have fantastic torpedoes. They're fast. They're easy to hit. They zoom in to get the angles very, very quickly. Like, she's got very good torpedoes. And, I mean, we don't need to talk about her ability to citadel people from dropping bombs. Like, we won't talk about that. Commander skill changes. This update, we're adjusting many skills, included particularly some of the French inspirations. Some are being improved, and some notable destroyer skills are being changed up. Buffs. Incendiary base trait on Louis du Fournet. Maximum HE shell damage buff increased from +4 to +6%. Expeditious base trait of Emile Japrat. Maximum battleship speed buff increased from 5 to 6.5%. Mortar skill. Mortar is a dedicated gunboating skill. We're increasing its effectiveness to improve many gunboat-style destroyers across the game. Shell damage modifier increased from 2.5 to 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10 to 6, 8.33, 10.66, and 13. So it's actually getting a pretty significant buff at the high end. Actually, it's getting a pretty significant buff all the way through. But, yeah. Cloudy days, we've reduced the trade-off impact of cloudy days substantially. Engine boost cooldown reduced from -10, 15, 20, 25 to -5, 10, 15, and 20. So a 5% increase or decrease there. Smokescreen dispersion time reduced from -20, -5, -7.5, -10, and -12.5. Oh, it just... Okay, so now instead of being a flat -20%, it is now -5, -7. Okay, I read it. Weird. Okay, and smokescreen deployment time, same buff. Okay. Reaching out skill. We've changed this skill to have greater focus and application for destroyers. The auxiliary buff to secondary battery range has been replaced with a buff to destroyer main battery reload. The skills icon has also been updated to reflect this change. Previously, this skill increased main battery and secondary battery range by 8%. Reaching out will now increase main battery range by 8% and reduce main battery reload by -1.5, -2, -2.5, -3. So you're getting a nice little buff to reload for anybody running the reaching out skill, which, I mean, pretty much every battleship does. Most cruisers do. That's a little bit scary. Actually, do cruisers get reaching? I think they do. Nerfs. These skills have been a significant impact on destroyer gameplay with extremely high usage. Powder keg base trait of Philippe Boyano. Philippe Boyano is performing extremely well among French destroyers, so we're reducing the effectiveness of his base trait. HE shell damage buff for DDs reduced from plus 0.25 to 5% to 0.175 to 3.5%. So on the high end, you're getting a 1.5% nerf. Sorry. Perceptive. Thanks to the skill's ability to show the direction to the nearest enemy ship, it's proved to be very strong for hunting down or avoiding. And that's what I've always tried to talk to people about. When I run Perceptive or Twist and Track, it isn't always to find, even though it is very nice to find the enemy destroyers, especially late game. It's very, very handy for very sneaky destroyers to avoid other destroyers. Like Shima. When I want to avoid people, I can pay attention to where that thing is pointing and be like, okay, he's going to be coming over here, so I'm going to turn this way, and that allows you to get the drop, and then we can keep them spotted with our concealment. and then they can get obliterated. So that's something that I think has needed to be going for a while. But incoming damage to your destroyer. This is the only thing it changed. This is not going to change anything. I'll be real honest. Yes, it means that you're going to take more damage. But honestly, in the case of like Shima and stuff, this is not going to make any difference whatsoever. Because you're going to be able to still do the same thing. So it's a slight nerf, but at the same time, I don't think this is going to affect the Shima or anything like that at higher tiers being able to effectively dodge enemy destroyers that would otherwise murder it. So, twist and track skill, again, same thing. Destroyer gun traverse speed reduced from 0.9, 1.8, 2.7, 3.5 to plus 0.5, plus 1, plus 1.5, and plus 2. So, you're not going to have as fast a traverse on your destroyer turrets, but again, most destroyers don't really care. I think the Russians are one that would need a little bit faster traverse on their turrets, but other than that, I don't think most people even run twist and track. Most people run perceptive because it's just a better skill. Go all out skill has been nerfed as well. Go all out is a skill that lives in infamy. It's getting dramatically reduced in effectiveness as it was tremendously powerful, and we received many requests to reduce its impact. You'll be able to use this skill more often, but its effects have been cut in half. Detectability while engine boost is active, reduced from minus 5, 10, 15, and 20 to minus 2.5, minus 5, minus 7.5, and minus 10. So, really big change there. But think about it. These are some of the strongest destroyers in the game. They have a good hit point pool. They have really hard-hitting torpedoes, although they are short range. Okay, not as short as the Kaba, but shorter range. So, we'll call them mid-range torpedoes. They have torpedoes on both sides of their ship. So they can drop torps off one side, flip around, drop them off the other side. They have the ability to hit the button and disappear while they are getting closer to you. And the go all out skill is absolute just dog crap. Like, that is a skill that made no sense. Plus, they have main battery reload boosters. Just for the lulz. So they didn't really have a weakness. Like, their biggest weakness was that you had to get within medium range to torp anything. Ooh. Or you just get out in front of people that are coming towards you and you can just torp them all day long. But what do I know? But yeah, so seeing a nerf to the go all out skill is a pretty big deal. But it does get a little bit of a buff on the cooldown of the engine boost. So there's that. Study the changes and turn the tide. So a lot of big changes coming up, both in the balance department and in the regular update. So let me know what you are most excited about, least excited about down in the comments below. Don't forget, we are on the path to 50,000 subscribers. So if you guys like watching these sorts of videos when they release them, and I go through and read everything for you so you can listen to it while you're driving to work, while you're working on something, by all means, hit that subscribe button, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.